of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the Zoom this morning is Tony Kirkman. He is the executive director of the Piatt County Mental Health Center. Tony, good to see you, my friend. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you, Seth?
I am doing good. Thanks for asking. Thanks for making time for us. And of course, Tony, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so this is just right up your alley. And I know, we could go a lot of different directions with this, but let's start at the ground floor and in your own community. You've taken up a really big initiative to reach the youth, if I'm not mistaken. Talk to me about this. What's going on?
Yeah, so there's an old African proverb that says, if you want to get there fast, go alone. But if you want to go further, go together. And so I believe that when we collaborate, we can accomplish some great things. So actually, there was a group of about 4 or 5 different local nonprofits and service providers that met in early February to talk about Mental Health Awareness Month in May and what we could do to work collaboratively. So we established what was called the Piatt County Mental Health Initiative. And it's a collaboration of providers like the Mental Health Center, Kirby Medical Center. The Jamie Boone Project was a nonprofit on suicide awareness prevention. Yoga Off the Square for mindfulness, never forgotten, that talks about trauma care, and Hope Lives Youth Ranch. And I know I'm forgetting somebody else, and I apologize for that. But really trying to figure out how we could kind of come at the topic of emotional wellness from a very collaborative approach. So we put together this initiative. We're very pleased that we have a workshop that's been offered every single Wednesday in the month of May. So myself and a colleague from Kirby did emotional wellness. Last week we did, Josie Heck from Yoga Off the Square did a workshop on mindfulness. Mm-hmm. We have trauma-informed care for first responders happening tomorrow. And the Jamie Boone Project will be wrapping us up the last week of May. So those are the workshops. The Piatt County Mental Health Board is trying to share awareness about mental health awareness. So they put together these kind of cool little stress balls. They're shaped like a brain, just reminding people that emotional health care is health care. As well as we've put together a little business passport. So there's at least 30 different local businesses that are all coming around highlighting the topic of mental wellness. And so they've dressed up their store windows with green ribbons, or they have been willing to hold some material from the 988 Crisis Lifeline or some other mental health tools. And I'm trying to think what else. Oh, we've put together encouraging messages for veterans. So we've gotten a couple rolls of paper so that we can send those out to the brave men and women who protect our freedoms. And then lastly, we had the Monticello High School and the Monticello Middle School youth work on creating encouraging messages on emotional health that are on coffee sleeves, and they're being sold at 2 of our local coffee shops. So anytime you go and purchase a coffee, hopefully you find one of those coffee sleeves that just reminds you to look for the good, to remind yourself that you're valued, you're important, you have purpose. So it really is a community approach to a community need.
I stand entirely corrected. This is a kind of a holistic approach, targeting almost every sector of the community, if you will. So very, very nice. Is this just a temporary thing, Tony, for the month of May, or do you want to see this continue on, live on, be something that kind of becomes a thriving program? How do you foresee where this goes next?
Yeah, I hope that it continues throughout the year. I mean, obviously in May, we turn it up, we ratchet it up a couple notches, but, mental health does not take a day off. And so we are, trying to address that need as best as we can. one of the things that I'm hoping is that if nothing else, people will be able to access the Piatt County Mental Health Board's resource page.
Mm-hmm.
So we have some PSAs that are out there on billboards. We have one on the side of Piatt, just reminding people that when they are in need, that there are local resources out there to meet them wherever they're at.
How did this get started? Where did this start? Talk about the collaboration that went into this. I mean, you mentioned several of the groups and everything. I guess just kind of where did this all come from? What's it stem from?
Well, I think some of it stemmed from as you know, our voters in November of 24 voted to approve a Piatt County mental health referendum that helped us, strengthen some of the systems that we have and expand some capacities. And out of that, the mental health board wanted to resource local providers. And so, as I said, we sat together in early February, and now I remember the other person I forget. Andy Owens is the owner of KB Community Cafe, and she does a great job of promoting community resources and highlighting some of the events that are here. So we got a lot of the funders that 708 supports together, as well as some other colleagues that I've made over the years, and just said, hey, this is our home. And how can we meet local needs with local resources? And so that's what I love, is that I think that most needs can be met by local strengths. And so every person around that table looks at this as not only a community provider, but this is our home. These are our neighbors, and we take care of our own around.
Yeah, for sure. Taking ownership of what happens in your community, for sure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's great. You mentioned the 708 board, Tony. You mentioned they're the voters passing of this. This is one of the benefits I'm sure they will see going forward of that approval of the 708 board is just initiatives like this, community involvement like this. I mean, you could probably have pulled this off without that. However, that 708 board piece, I'm sure, certainly helps take it a step further with funding and such.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. So nobody likes to be taxed more than they currently are, or at all. And so I realized that when we reached out to the community and said there are some support services that are in dire need of support so that we can continue to serve all facets of our community, especially our under-resourced that don't have as many access points, the community responded in a beautiful way. And so, I went out to every single local municipality, explained why a 708 was required, and also wanted the residents to see the fruit of their generosity. And so you're exactly right, Seth. It's like when we put this together, we wanted a Piatt County resident to see an immediate result, and not just, if I could say, not just in Monticello, but the voter in Mansfield, the voter in Cerro Gordo, the voter in Beeman, the voter in Atwood. We wanted them to see like there are resources there. So we're strengthening the local school districts. We are, one of the initiatives, we put in an outside sharp box in conjunction with the local health department so that we can reduce the community's, the needles that are around, so we can work towards harm reduction. We've strengthened our local nursing home with putting mental health there, because we believe that not only the residents, but those that serve our residents, if they can address some of life's stresses, they'll provide a better service. So we tried to look at the entire continuum of a person's life, from school to long-term care, and say, how can we support our residents?
And I tell you what, Tony, it really shifts the approach from a reactive, in a time of crisis, to more of a preventative and maybe more proactive in just outreach and availability and those sorts of things. I know that's kind of a big shift in the mental health and mental wellness world, is that kind of preventative care versus just reacting when a crisis comes.
Yeah, I mean, what's the old saying? It's an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of treatment. So if we can address emerging behavioral health issues and its early onset, hopefully it prohibits it from exacerbating into a more severe issue. And really, we've looked at early intervention as reminding family members where they can kind of on-ramp for services before they need to like crash an ER or something when things are kind of completely redlined.
Word. Well said. It's well said. Is this an initiative that you're promoting, like, say, on social media, Facebook or Instagram or anything like that? And if so, how do folks follow along, Tony?
Yeah, I would say jump on Facebook, look for the Piatt County Mental Health Network. It has a whole listing of what we're trying to do out there, as well as highlighting local businesses that are supporting it. Again, we're breaking down stigma, increasing access to care, and reminding people that your mental health matters.
Tony, anything else on that we didn't touch on today you want to put out there for us?
Seth, I just want to keep circling back to the fact of like, I'm extremely proud of the community that I live in, where you could take this type of situation and say that's somebody else's issue or it never happens to me. It takes a lot of courage to tackle it and say, this is an issue that we need to address with local resources. And so super proud of the residents of Piatt County for taking this on. And it always takes somebody to speak first. So I'm really glad of all these local businesses that are stepping out saying we're going to be leaders and we want people just to be as healthy as they can. So kudos to the residents of Piatt County.
Excellent stuff. Tony Kirkman, Executive Director of the Piatt County Mental Health Center, my guest on the Zoom today. More to come with Tony coming up on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW. Finding the right employees can be a real challenge these days, whether you're hiring full-time or part-time. That's where the regional radio stations come in. We're here to help you connect with the qualified candidates you need. Check out IllinoisJobPost.com. That's IllinoisJobPost.com. It's part of our comprehensive radio and internet employment campaign designed to get your job openings noticed. For details, just reach out to your account manager. Put the power of radio and the internet to work for you at IllinoisJobPost.com. SIU Center for Family Medicine is here to help with back to school and sports physicals. Healthy kids learn better and play harder. Call 217-735-2317 today to schedule your appointment. That's 217-735-2317. SIU Medicine, forward for you.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Tony Kirkman, Executive Director of the Piatt County Mental Health Center, is my guest on the Zoom today. Hey, Tony, I know May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and just, again, kind of right up your alley with this one. When we talk about mental health awareness, I wonder if anything this particular May comes to mind for you, anything you're dialed in on, noticing locally, anything of that nature.
I think one of the things that you and I have talked about for a while is that, every other year we have schools completing something known as the Illinois Youth Survey that is a self-report for 8th, 10th, and 12th graders. So those results are just now starting to come out in local districts. So I'm hoping that I have access to not only the local districts, but I will have access to the county numbers by the end of the summer. So what I'm watching is not only the questions that relate to anxiety, depression, and suicide, but I'm also looking at, there's an interesting question that's on that survey of, do I have an adult that I feel comfortable speaking to other than my parent? And so trying to make sure that we see that our young people have access to support from adults, trusted adults that can give wise counsel. I'm obviously very interested in behavioral health intervention within the school districts. You're starting to see that become more of a more of a common practice of having a therapist in the schools. And then obviously watching what's going to be required in 2027, where school districts are going to be tasked with providing a mental health assessment for grades 3 to 12, just to make sure that emerging mental health needs are being identified. So from the youth district, that's kind of what I'm watching. From more of the adult population, I think we're finally starting to see that individuals that are diagnosed with a substance use disorder have 50% of them have what's known as a co-occurring mental health diagnosis. And so I'm super proud of the work that I'm seeing being done of, instead of treating substance use disorder like a moral failure or a personality flaw, that we're tackling that through a medical model. So the same way that we would look at high blood pressure, diabetes, or any other genetic disorder, we're trying to figure out how we can address that through both behavioral and a medical care model.
Couple of things on that, Tony. You mentioned the question directed to kids. Do you have an adult other than your parents you feel you can approach about the challenges happening in your life? Why is that so? Why does that make a difference to you? What about that question is so what it connects with you so much?
Well, as a parent of 2 teenagers, I've been reminded that I'm sometimes the most ignorant man on the planet on topics that I don't understand. I don't get it. I'm out of touch. I'm uncool. Whatever you want to put on there. And so what I think that parents, one of the best things that they can do for their kids, other than obviously creating a loving, embracing, acclimating environment, is to actually find another adult that aligns with them on their cultural custom, faith, morals, ethics, all of that, and link them to their children. Because Seth, like, you could say something to your kids and it's unreasonable, but somebody can give the same exact counsel and it's the most wisest thing that they've seen.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that one is if they discount their parents' advice, but they have a trusted adult they can go to, that's helpful. But secondly, some of our youth that are struggling with depression or anxiety do not want to disappoint their parents. So they try to put on a fake smile or a fake face or whatever, because, for whatever reason, mental health continues to bring about feelings of shame. If they could go to a trusted person and say, hey, I'm really struggling with this, and feel that, it's a no judgment area, I think that's very, very beneficial to our kids. Mm-hmm. And so if hopefully that's found within the educational system, within the school district, that there's trusted teachers that youth can go to. But I think that's one of the very best things that a family could do, is find another trusted adult that their child could safely attain counsel from.
Tony Kirkman, Executive Director of the Piatt County Mental Health Center, our guest on the Zoom here for this morning. Tony, you mentioned on the adult side, kind of that dual diagnosis, if you will. Someone who has a substance abuse issue might also have a coinciding, mental health challenge as well. Do you find, and I know we've talked about this term we've thrown out a few times in our visits over the years, is self-medicating. Is the substance abuse issue kind of a self-medicating way of dealing with the mental health challenge?
I think it's a facet. I don't think it can be completely contained in that, but I do think that there is some facet of, if I'm struggling with a mental health disorder, I could take a substance and it helps temporarily regulate me. For those instances, I would highly recommend that you go under a physician's care to get medication to assist you with your mental health. But there's some things too of, there's biological features, there's chemical features, there's trauma can inform a lot of that. And so that's why it's an interesting realm for addiction medicine is what is it? Is it the effects of dopamine that we're getting hooked on because we're using the substances? Is it There's parts of our brain that are actually traumatized or bruised, and we're trying to figure out how to medicate on that end. Is it just chemical dependency? So it's not a mental health issue. It's just not, my body has become dependent upon this medication. And if I try to discontinue it or just come completely off of it, now I have withdrawal symptoms that are so severe that I prefer to be on the illegal substance.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Well, Tony, again, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. I know in if I'm not mistaken, June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. We'll probably dive into this a little bit more, but I've seen a little bit of data suggesting men and boys, seeing spikes in kind of helplessness, those sorts of things. Just, I got about a minute. Quickly weigh in on that for me, if you don't mind.
Men statistically are more prone to not seek treatment. Men statistically are prone to complete a suicide attempt more than the female component. There still is a high stigma for men dealing with emotional dysregulation. And what I would tell my fellow brothers out there is that you're needed in this world. Mm-hmm. And have somebody come and see you, because you have a lot of value, and this world would not be the same without you in it. So seek help. Leaders lead. Be courageous. Address your issues. There's no shame in it. And
you said it. You said it earlier. The first one. Sometimes it just takes the first one to speak, right? Never know where that door is gonna lead to. So very good. Tony, quickly, how do folks learn about all things Piatt County Mental Health Center?
Check us out online, piattmhc.org, Facebook, or give me a call, 217-762-5371.
Tony, always good to talk to you, my friend. Good to see you as always. Tony Kirkman, Executive Director of the Piatt County Mental Health Center, my guest on the Zoom Network News comes your way now.